total D, 11th in scoring defense. Sometimes those numbers get inflated by bad teams, though. Like Mercer and who else have they played that they really shut down? I guess you say the second half against Tennessee. New Mexico State, LSU. Their best performance this year was against Ole Miss. It really was. They were awesome against Ole Miss. Other than that, I mean, they were great against Mississippi State on the road, giving up 9 points. So, yeah, it just seems like sometimes Golding does have moments. But I think he'll be back and touchdown Utah. Oh, they were having a day. When Jamison Williams made that catch to make it 40, at the time 40 to 28, and then they converted the 2-point. It looked like a catch. But that didn't mean anything because I had no idea how these refs were going to rule that. They were having a day. And it was all over. I don't know how many of you all were watching some of these other games. Wisconsin, Nebraska. Nebraska was like 20 yards from the end zone and kind of just had to heave it up. It was like 4th and 20 with like 10 seconds left. Pretty clear pass interference, no call, because you see it a lot in some of these games that refs don't want to call penalties in that situation because they don't want to decide the game, which my argument is, well, if you're letting defenders drape all over receivers, you are deciding the game. And my friend's a ref, and he hates me for that. But I'm like, if it's a penalty in the first quarter, it's like basketball. If it's a foul in the first quarter, it's a foul in the fourth quarter. We don't want to decide the game. Well, you are. If I follow you, it's a foul. It's whatever. But yeah, no, the refs were having a day in a lot of places throughout the country today. It's a hard job. It's a very hard job. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that earlier, but we started going in about other things. But yeah, no, the refs on both sides, they were having a day. And it's weird. You see games like that where you see a goofy call early and you're like, okay. And then you see a goofy call about like 5 minutes later and you're like, okay. And then you see some really goofy call, like when Arkansas had to put the ball in the end zone 3 times. As the kids say, ball don't lie. And they had to put the ball in the end zone 3 times. It was like, oh, they're having a day. Put on the Blues game. It's hard, man. It's a hard job. I don't envy. It's not a job I would want to do. I can tell you that right now. It's a job none of you want to do. Believe me. For a living, I also get to talk to NHL officials, and not fun. I work for the Blues. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud for Heisman. I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch on. Bryce Young was awesome. Let's see. Brian Robinson. Senior day for him. He's had a rough season because there's been some games where Alabama just has not been able to move the ball through the run game. LSU, they couldn't. They were having struggles against Mercer running the ball, and not just running the ball, but getting those explosive runs that we're so accustomed to seeing. He was good today. He was pretty good today, consistently getting 4 or 5 yards, making it easy along a 15. So the explosive runs weren't there. The 20, 30-yard runs that we're seeing from like Najee. But Brian was pretty good today. And for a senior day, good to see him go out with a good performance like that at Bryant-Denny. He's going to need to have a big game next week, though. And we'll see. Good for him. He obviously isn't. He's obviously not Najee. He's not some of these other mutants that Alabama's had at running back over the years, like Wisconsin. But he's a pretty good player, and he had a good game. And the offensive line's been kind of at points this year, too. And someone touched on that earlier when he was talking about Bill O'Brien. So good for Brian Robinson, man. He seems like a good guy. I'm not in the program, so he could be a terrible person who believes in horrible things. But from the outside, he looks like a good guy, and he had a good game, and that's awesome. Always good to see people have good games on their senior day because it's a day to celebrate him, and good for him. Senior days are special in college football. I've learned to really appreciate. These guys put in a lot of went to most of you all are probably in and around college age or a little older or remember college. Like those guys work hard, especially at that level. You have a lot of fun, but you're practicing a lot. You put in a lot of work that the normal student body doesn't have to, and to be rewarded and celebrated in front of a chunk of students and fans is special. So congrats to all the Alabama seniors today. Arkansas will have their senior day next week. A lot of teams will have their senior day next week. Mizzou had their senior day today. Who's on the road next? Florida will have their senior day next week. So congrats to them. Congrats to Alabama on the win. Also, senior day can be emotional too. So it wasn't unsurprising to see him come out a little flat. But enough drivel about senior day. Leave your comments, reactions, your thoughts on this game, because there's a lot of thoughts that people could have. And I think I've spilled pretty much all my thoughts, but I want to go for a little bit while longer. I see a ton of you are here, a lot of new people, because my number's higher than it has been all day. Give your thoughts and reactions down there in the old comment section, and I will get to every single one of them, because I'm just cool like that. I can read at a 4th grade level. Wow, that's empty in Dallas tonight. Holy cow. See, find something else in the stat book I wanted to talk about, because I've hit all my points. That's why I keep looking at my phone. Make sure that's an ad on ESPN with my stats page open. I usually have the live stats page open from like Alabama site. It wasn't loading for me today. So I just pulled up ESPN. Latu's fumble was ugly. Was the only team only one turnover? Not a heavily penalized game, I guess you could say. Only 11 penalties for 70 yards combined, which is not a whole heck of a lot. So I know we've had issues with the refs, but not too many issues with the penalties called for the most part. I mean, what you can say about the Alabama defense today is they held the Arkansas run game in check, and Kendall Briles really does want to establish that run game. And they only averaged 2.6 yards a carry. Traylon Smith averaged 4.7 yards a carry, but they kind of abandoned him for large parts. Like Raheem Sanders got 6 carries for 18 yards. Dominique Johnson, 9 carries for 23 yards. So they were able to hold the run game in check. 42 on the whole, Arkansas had 42 carries for 110 yards, 2.6 yards a carry, 1 touchdown, long of 15. You can't be too upset with that. And then on the Alabama side, Bryce Young did take minus 11 yards in sack totals, but he did have some nice plays getting outside the pocket, breaking defenses down. And he's got to be better at doing that at times, because Georgia is going to be hellacious. They're just going to be hellacious. We'll go for a few more minutes. Leave your comments, questions, reactions, thoughts. And we'll start wrapping up here before too long. There's things I got to do. Other games I want to watch. And I got to eat dinner, because I haven't eaten. It's 7:15 here. So get those comments and questions in while you still can. Because, of course, I will be back here next week, same time, same place, against Auburn, because that game is the 2:30 CBS kickoff. It was always going to be. I don't know. That wasn't really announced, I don't think, because I looked earlier today. And it should be fun. Should be a lot of fun next week. It's always a fun game. The Iron Bowl is always fun. So Any last thoughts and opinions? Go ahead and get them in real quick. Hard to troll. I missed that comment. Hard to troll common sense. I try to be logical. It's very easy to come on here and be emotional, but I just not. So I'm gonna wrap things up. Thank you all for watching so much. Oh, got a comment. Think it'll be close. Auburn, Alabama. I mean, just judging on the last few weeks, yeah, kind of. I think so. Because Alabama, for the most part, hasn't been able and get more comments and questions, guys. I'll stay as long as you're here. Hasn't shown the ability to blow out a lot of teams yet. They blew out Mississippi State. I think Auburn's better than Mississippi State, but we'll see because TJ Finley will play, not Bo Nix. And Bo Nix is bad. No Bix, as I have coined him, but he can make plays. He'll make one or two plays where you go, oh, that's why that dude was the number 2 quarterback recruit in the country. And then he'll make some plays and like, is this a walk on? Like, is this a walk on at Western Illinois, my alma mater? What's he doing? So we'll see. I think it'll be close because because Auburn does have such a good run game with Bigsby, but I can't imagine. I don't know. It's a hard time. It's a hard team to gauge this Crimson Tide team.